Another increase in poor nation aid. The World Bank said yesterday that it would almost triple lending this year to help prevent a, quote, human crisis in developing countries amid the turmoil in financial markets.
Machiavelli said, the reason there will be no change is because the people who stand to lose from change have all the power. And the people who stand to gain from change have none of the power. Machiavelli was describing the global aid system today.
We can't continue to talk about the tragedy of poverty and not talk about aid. Over $2 trillion have been spent on aid.
Aid creates dependency. More aid and more aid and more aid.
We've seen that aid has subsidized dictators, encouraged inefficiency. Most of the money for aid doesn't actually get to the poor.
Aid has delayed the development of business in Africa. It has kept Africa behind.
It becomes a way of colonizing the economies of the poor countries, a system of economic slavery.
You create that parental relationship. It's patron-client, it's master-slave, it's all broken.
These are the strategies of the last 50 years, and they failed for 50 years, and they're going to continue to fail. It's time to change.
If the African nations today agreed together and say no more aid, I tell you, they can grow slowly, but they can grow.
Economic transformation in the long term comes from locally run, locally owned businesses.
We need to transform our good intentions into things that actually work. And what works is allowing these individual human beings, creating the image and likeness of God, to create value and prosperity for themselves.
We are working to train people into entrepreneurship and be disciples of God in transforming their own nation.
I've seen that. I've seen that through my business.
Nobody owes us anything. You don't expect the whole world to be able to address your own problems. We are here to meet up front these challenges we face.
Entrepreneurship should become something that is the language and the life of our day-to-day people.
To create capacities in people, to empower them to be able to stand on their own.
People have lots of energy, lots of capacity.
Business is the normative way in which people rise out of poverty, not state-to-state aid, not the largesse of politicians and bureaucrats. It might not be very romantic to think that it's just humdrum business, but it's true.
These people are the engine of growth. They are changing slums into cities.
Instead of training job seekers, we train job makers.
A sense of independence, a sense of human dignity.
Confidence,
knowledge,
empowerment,
opportunity,
character,
responsibility,
hard work,
vision,
self-esteem,
the new moral purpose,
abundance of life. Economies can grow.
Anything is possible.
And it's high time we stop telling our people they can't do it. Yes, we shall do it in the name of God.
There's a false notion that poor countries are poor because rich countries are rich, and that somehow there's a justice requirement that wealthy countries have to transfer money from developing countries' taxpayers to developing countries.
They think they owe the poor people to give them money without thinking about how they are going to use this money.
What Africans need are not handouts. What all people need are the foundations to allow them to live out their freedoms and live out their responsibilities, to fail and to succeed.
Having a heart for the poor isn't hard. Can we have a mind for the poor? Can you really relate to the poor on a one-to-one basis, as equals, as partners, as colleagues? Can we allow them to put the locus of responsibility for their own future on themselves and then be willing to be guided by their vision?
And if you give people that foundation, then they're going to create success, they're going to create wealth that no state could ever create.
Private sector has the bigger role, and it grows and grows, and we begin to drive the bottom of the pyramid the other way around. We flip it around because it is possible. It's worked in other societies. It can work for Africa.
Whether you are born in the richest family in the world or in the poorest family in the world, you have the same capability as a human being. It's a question of how you unleash that energy that is packed into you.
Small and medium-sized enterprises are a critical part in the development process. Job creation, employers who provide income for families who can take whole communities out of poverty.
And that's what markets are. They're networks of human relationships where people get together and solve problems closest to them. It's time to move the locus of power away from the aid industry into individual communities, individual countries, where they can choose their own strategy to create prosperity.
The purpose of prosperity is not itself. The purpose of prosperity is to create stronger societies.
We need to be able to move from aid to production, from existing to living.
It is the way it was meant to be, for us to leverage our communities out of poverty. People have the dignity of putting food on their table, shelter, health is provided, education is provided for their children.
Good intentions don't end poverty. Enterprise and freedom end poverty.